Hi, I'm putting an egg on the table. I'm going to explain a little bit about using shadows. So, when you look at this egg, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. You see that it has multiple shadows, but when I look at the surrounding area, you can see that there's a window there, there's a window there, and there's also light coming from that direction. So there are three directions from which you see light coming. And when I make a portrait, source photograph for a portrait, I don't find this very convenient. So I'm going to make everything dark, and I'm going to use this softbox light, which is a sort of imitation of a window light. So now it's not perfectly dark, but most of the light is gone. Let's do this. Turn this monitor off, and I'm going to turn on that softbox. Yeah. So let's zoom out a little bit. So the only light is that softbox. I'm going to put it higher, and then we can look at the egg again. This is the situation. So the light comes from one direction, and you see the egg there. And to copy more or less the way that the old masters used lighting, I will change the position a little bit of the light. So the light comes from the left, and I can explain a little bit about light and shadow on the egg. So here is the light coming from the left. Now you see an overview. I positioned the light on the left side, and in old master paintings, in old master theories, the shadow of the object that was lit must be as wide or as long as the object is high. So the light must come under a angle of 45 degrees. I think this is more or less that. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but more or less. So let's look at what happens with the lights on this egg. So we have here, and let me take a little brush to point out a few things. A sort of highlight here, and the light is, the colors of the egg are brightest here, around this area, around this highlight I would say, and here we see a shadow. So you have this gradual diminishing of the colors and the tonal values. This is a shadow. Here we see a reflection of the white paper. So if you would take something of another color, let me see. If the color changes, then you see a different color of reflection. But this is a white paper. I want that actually to lay still. So position has changed a bit, so the lighting situation has also changed. So if I turn this egg around, you see that the shape of the egg makes that the shadows change a bit as well. So you have this, let's see. So you have this lighted area, shadow area. Here is a very dark area where no light comes and no reflection between the egg and the paper, a little bit here. And when you look at the colors, I will make a separate video about how the colors change, but when you look at old master paintings, when you see colors used in skin tones, you see that when a lighted area becomes darker, the colors become grayish, but not brownish, while the shadows are often brownish. So that's a separate subject to talk about when I'm going into coloring. But you see here in general, shadow, lighted area, build up to the highest lighting. Here, then you have a sort of glance or a highlight here, and a highlight can be, it's a bit different than just a lighter area of a shape. So the highlight is something, it's like a mirror image on an object. So it's a separate kind of category almost. Here we have the white reflection of the paper, and let's take a look at the shadow. The shadow is very soft. The edges of the shadow are soft, and that's important to note, because when you have a different light source, a smaller light source, because this softbox is a very wide light source. So when a light source is wide, the edges of the shadows are soft. And let's see. Now I have a different light source, and you can see the difference, that the edges of the shadow, they are much sharper. So now you clearly see a difference. So when you look at old master paintings, this type of light is actually the kind of light that you mostly see in portraits and still lifes. So this was a recommended approach, to have a light, window light, aimed at the subject under 45 degrees, so the shadow is as long as the object is high, and you get these reflections. So when I take a piece of white paper, another piece, there's a big difference between having a reflecting white paper here on the right, as you see here. Now remove it, so that's darker. Now I've put it on a black surface, and you see that it's very dark. Even this black reflects a little bit of light. But when you look at this painting by Rembrandt, you see a lighting that reminds me a little bit of this. But when you look at this painting by Rembrandt, you see that there is much more reflection in her face. You see the difference? So this is all very improvised, but you get the idea. Now I have here a decapitated head of the Hermes of Praxiteles. I think it's a copy or something. I bought this as a garden statue once and had my father let the head remove from it so I could use it for this purpose. But when you look at this, you see that the lighting of this is a bit similar to many portraits that you see from the 16th and 17th century. So just like with that egg, you see all kinds of reflections. Let's see, the underside of the nose is also, there's also some reflections from this here. But let's just take this white piece of paper and see what happens. So this way, when you look for example at the Syndics by Rembrandt, wonderful painting, you see those white colors that they are wearing. And that's just to create definition in darker areas, because when I remove this, all of this area is dark. But suppose I have a white color, I can reflect light into that darker area. So that's one of the things with this type of lighting. Here you see the overall situation. And let's just take a look at this. And you can vary the lighting situation. And here you see hardly any shadow. This is like using a flash on your camera. And this is the reason why I would recommend having the light source on the left or on the right, but coming from one side, because as artists, as painters, as draftsmen, we need shadow. We need shadow to define light and dark areas, to get depth in a drawing. So when I put the light this way, you hardly have any shadows. It's not very convenient to work this way. But when I put it more on the left, then you get the old master approach. So I hope this is clear. I hope it's useful. So if you have any questions for follow-up videos, let me know. Thank you for watching. Bye.